Greetings, greetings, everyone. Let me say peace, love, light to everyone that is watching, to everyone that will be joining the chat. Excuse me. Peace and love to you all. And I say welcome, welcome, everyone. Uh, Give me 1 second here. Let me adjust some things here. I want to say much love to everyone. Hope everyone has had a good weekend um, and having a great start to their uh, week so far, and that all is well with you, your loved ones, your family members, friends, family, work environment, um, all of that good stuff. Um, I want to address uh, something here. This story that is going around about Buju Bonton being barred from the Mooretown Maroon Maroon election. Um, this is quite a sticky situation, and it's not a simple situation neither, because there are a lot of hands, let's say, at at play here behind the scenes. There are a lot of hands at play here behind the scenes, and I want folks to understand. And I'm going to go back to my first-hand knowledge of um, my experience uh, with uh, two folks who were saying that they were members of the Yen Kun Kun of Mooretown, which are now a part of Richard Curry's um, political cabinet, which is Alex Moore Minot and his common law wife, as the name she goes by, Malkia um, Minot. All right. Um, Part of this story, the only person I've ever told a part of this story on its entirety to was, I believe, Aua, right? This was before I fully started um, communicating with Alex and Malkia. This is when I was still in communications with Aua. He's the only person that I've told a part of the story to in its entirety before I even started fully communicating with these two. Before, and I'm going to show you how um, spirit don't lie, right? Sometimes spirit gives you messages, and it's blurred. You don't know what to make of it, but then it becomes clear over time. And this is why they say you talk some and you leave some, right? Because I told them a part of this story to myself, but I never told them the full in its entirety. And it was for a reason. But before I even get to that part of the story, yeah, I need people to understand what's happening here, to comprehend what's happening here. Um, Before I go, Professor Artstep, honor to you, R.L. Smith, Lorenzo D, Asan Blake, honor, right? Because I need for these things to be cleared up and for people to comprehend the game in the depth of how it is being played. Now, if you guys can hear me in the chat, press one. Press one if you can hear me, right? So I need for you to understand in the depth of how this game is being played, because it's literally a game. This is what it is. It is a game. Now, let's go back to when these two first came, right? To my platform. This is when, and I don't want people to think this is something. This is not something being hateful. This is something that when you spot danger, when you see danger, when you see what is going on, you have to speak on what is going on. It's about right and wrong. You understand? And if I hold in my experience and don't speak on my experience with these people, I would be doing the entirety of this Western Hemisphere an injustice. And a lot of this is going back into the George Soros funding that he uses to fund UWI, right? Which is the University of the West Indies, right? And not only UWI, that is the funding that is also used into the maroon communities and now these pretender Indian communities calling themselves Tainos, right? This is a game of cat and mouse, a game of entrapment, and a game of um, uh, capturing. It's not capturing the flag, but capturing power, and it's power over a people that is not so well educated. The power to manipulate the masses that don't comprehend this political science that is being performed in front of them in this political theater. These actors, okay? Now, folks remember when I had the big platform before YouTube took it down, right? Because I was going back and forth dropping a whole bunch of information on the Moors, and they got me put on a list, and YouTube banned my channel. But I managed to save this one, which is the backup. Now remember when Alex and Malkia first came to the major channel looking for a GoFundMe to be done so that they could raise money for the school children, for the children in Mooretown, they said, to get uniforms made and for them to have school books and calculators and supplies for school. And we did the GoFundMe for them. And they were able to get the money to get the materials and the supplies that they needed for the children of Mooretown. But remember, I kept asking to speak with the elders of Mooretown, right? What else do they need? Can they establish some more about the history? And those two kept putting it off. They had excuses on top of excuses on top of excuses. Um, Now, there was a gentleman that they were dealing with called, I believe his name was Charles Aaron, yeah, an elder gentleman that used to travel throughout, uh, doing shows throughout the UN with the other rest of the Maroons and stuff, right? So he has United Nations ties, connections through humanitarian work and these things. He's an elder gentleman whose mindset is not so stable anymore. We're going to give you a rundown of what's happening here. Now, We never got to speak to any of the elders, right? And that was on the first GoFundMe that we did for them. That was the first GoFundMe we did for them. We never got to speak to any of the elders. Uh, a situation went down between them and Awar, which they were in the wrong for. They took some of Awar's documentations and went without his knowledge to go place it in a newspaper and almost got it taken away from them. So there was a pardon of the ways there between them and Awar. And at the time, because I more so knew Awar than them, you know, where does your loyalty lies? You see what I'm saying? Uh, anyway, long story short, me and Owa had our differences behind the scenes, and we split ways. I became friends with American Arawaks, right? American Arawaks is a very down to earth, um, cool ride for you brother, right? Very kind hearted person, very. So American Arawaks and them was had dealings. He was the one teaching them the paperwork, the documentation, right? Um, and then when I was speaking to him one day, he let me know that he was in contact with them. And I was at a point in my life where I was like, you know what, let's start just letting bygones be bygones with certain people, and let's revisit back certain things because they're supposed to be of the lineage and these things. And if we're saying that we're trying to work together as brothers and sisters, we can move forward and build, right? Because I didn't mainly have any issues with them at the time, but the issue was really between them and O at the time. But again, if you're loyal to someone or you're friends with someone, you're gonna roll with your friend, with your brother or your sister, right? So when I would stop dealing with them, I'd stop dealing with them, right? Anyway, now now I'm going to go into the part of the story that only Awar was the only person. I believe it's him that I told it to in its entirety, and he might remember. Anyway, one day I had a dream, right? You know what? I don't think I told Awar this story. I'm not sure. I think I did. I think I might not have. But anyway, I know I told part of it to American Arawaks. I might be mixing it up. It might be American Arawaks. Anyway, one day I had a dream. It wasn't really a dream because I was still half awake, so I was aware of what was going on in my surroundings, and I was being taken. I was taken to a place up in the mountains in Jamaica, being guided through the forest to a cave, and through to the cave. When I went to the cave, in the entrance of the cave also had a hole in the very top of it where the sunlight was shining down in. But within that cave, there were skulls mounted around and top in the cave, the walls of the cave going up towards the hole where the sunlight was shining through. And a lot of the skulls were female skulls with locked hair. And on the top, I believe, was the male skulls as well. And you felt the feminine and the masculine energy. And a lady in a white garment. It was white, kind of like that creamish looking, like that linen white type of color, right? This ain't the lady in the white dress. Not her. I've seen her. I've seen her and the lady in the blue dress, but this ain't them. And this woman came to me, and this woman said that she was Nani, right? Or what they call, who they call Nani, right? Because it's coming out that that's not her real name. And when this woman came to me, spirit be giving you messages, man, and sometimes you don't get it right away. But when the time will come when you get it. And like I said, I start doing things now based off what spirit says, and I just start. That's when you see me come and do my live. Okay, all right. See, yeah, see, I will just confirm it was with him, and trying to remember it fully because I don't want to go off and misconstrue certain things. You understand? I'm trying to stay to it as possible. So bear with me because I'm trying to remember the thing also in its entirety. And this woman came to me and she was feeling me out at first because it was like, who are you coming up in here in this area? You understand? How did you know about this sacred area here? And mind you, the whole time I was being guided to that area. I believe this was right after I had the dream about the children them that's being kidnapped up in the mountains, being lured to a wooden shack, like a half abandoned house up in the mountains as well. And I told you about that. Which those two confirm that there is a place as such up in the mountains where children do go missing. Mind you, I have never been to Mooretown. I've never been to these parts of Jamaica. Yeah, but I'm dreaming these parts of Jamaica, and these are factual things that I've been dreaming about. Okay, see, there you go again. Oh, well, just confirmed it. And after the hostility calmed down with the energy, and she realized that I am friend, not foe, right? Because her spirit is a defending spirit, and the male spirits then started coming down, and everybody backed down, and then two more women came next to her. So now I'm looking at three females of great stature, right? Three leading females, and another entity swoops in. This one is very aggressive. Now me and this one is going at it now. This one has nothing to do with these women because this energy is not from that area. And the energy that that I was going at it with was Alex Moore Minet's wife, common law wife, as the name she go by, Malkia. But I've never told them this part of the story. It was a stubborn energy, right? It was a stubborn, very stubborn energy. And I woke up, like I came to full consciousness. Let's skip forward to the second GoFundMe that we did for them when we started the West Indian Tribal Society, and they wanted to make the pilgrimage to Colombia, but the tribal war had broken out in Colombia, and they couldn't make the pilgrimage to Colombia. I have to tell you this backstory so people realize that I'm not some Johnny come lately stranger that's just popped up out of nowhere trying to talk a whole bunch of crap, right? I've been dealing with these people for about 2, 3 years, okay? Iraq's been dealing with them a little longer than me, and Iraq can confirm everything, all right? So now you guys remember the second GoFundMe, they were supposed to have make the pilgrimage to Colombia. But yes, a tribal war did break out. There was wars going on in Colombia, tribal wars going on. The government was going up into the jungle, hunting down the chiefs of the tribes in Colombia, killing them. That is a fact. These things was happening. So they couldn't make the pilgrimage. But I, from the beginning, had wanted them to make a pilgrimage to Haiti. Why go all the way to Colombia when your brothers and sisters are right there next door to you that can use the help that you are going to Colombia to offer and that can give you the knowledge that you are going to Colombia to receive? I'm going to show you something how everything is connected now and making so much sense, right? So they didn't get to make the pilgrimage. So then we was like, okay, Haiti then will be the next shot. But no, there's a property called it's named after Elizabeth, Windsor, Windsor, that Alex have 2 acres on, with a house that he started building how many years ago, but then he became broke and couldn't finish building it. And he was trying to find means to finish fixing up the house. And at the time, they started dealing with some Irish folks, right? Some Irish folks that who were well off. These people had investments in Pixar, had ownerships in Pixar, and these things. And they were trying to get on these folks had a something Brasney they were called, right? I forgot. But one of the gentlemen that they were speaking to, he was a prince, an Irish prince that resettled in Australia, and they were trying to learn how to create like the gold and silverback certificates through these folks. Anywho, those folks were like they picked up on the tomfoolery that they were trying to do, that they were just trying to get money to finish fixing up their house or whatever, right? At the time, truthfully, I really didn't see it at the time. I really did not at the time. So then, Alex is a very well learned grower in cannabis. Yeah, he's a very well learned grower in the cannabis and has a great history of make creating medicinals in cannabis. He's very smart. Not he's very smart, but Malkia is a goddamn genius. Yeah, I give them that. But not because you're smart or not because you're a genius don't mean that you know everything in the world. And don't mean that you can pull the wool over everyone's eyes. Eventually you get found out. So anyway, the money from the GoFundMe went into um building the grow house. And that grow house was supposed to produce X amount of cannabis to make money from to put back within the community. Okay? To put back within the community to be able to get land and these things, not only here on the mainland, but back home. These were the things that we were aspiring to accomplish. And little by little, these two started changing, right? Before I get to them changing, let's now go into the relationship between them and Charles Aaron. So Alex went up into Mooretown because his uncle was is supposedly a Mooretown Maroon. So the folks up there didn't really know him like that because it was for years he had no connections with up there. So his legitimacy or his blood tie to Mooretown came via through his uncle. Okay. Um, the letter that was drafted up and signed off on, the letter that was drafted up by Alex and Malkia, it was signed off on by Charles Aaron, that was stamped and sealed to give them legitimacy. Because Malkia is an Akunkpong Maroon, she's not a Moortown Maroon. So this is going to play into a lot of the things that I'm going to be saying now. And I want folks to understand, right? So, um, skip back now to the grow house because I just had to add that in for context. And that's going to come in handy later. So yeah, so started doing the grow house. There was a place that they had outside of their in the on the same lot of their house up in Mooretown that they were staying in. It was a place that it was given to them by Annette Aaron and Charles Aaron, right? For them to stay there because they had nowhere to go. Uh, so they had started building a little like a little board house in the back that was supposed to have been for them to get out of the house that they were in, right? To secure them from the flooding and these things. Anyway, the money went towards finishing up that, and that was turned into the grow house instead of their living quarters. And he was able to get some clones from a brethren of his and filled the house with clones, and it was able to be sealed off where no one would know that that's what he was growing up there because they're running with Mama G, Gamma G, the Gamidian G. She already had let Moortown know that the reason why Alex came up there was to grow weed. That's the only reason why he came up there because they're protected from the Jamaica government to grow weed up there. Because remember, Jamaica Corporation has very little jurisdiction when it comes to indigenous land, right? Because remember, they're treaty or they're contracted. It's just like with the reservation Indians here. They grow whatever they want on their lands, and the United States Corporation, 9 times out of 10, won't intervene. It's the same deal that they have with the Jamaica Corporation down there. So yeah, we got the indoor AC and everything, and a ventilation unit where no one could tell if they what they were growing or not. And then at that time, they had dealings with Richard Curry, which American Arawaks and I did not know about. Okay, so they knew Richard Curry was going to be the next Maroon chief of a Kung Pong, and they kept that whole thing from us. But we picked up that they were keeping things from us, so we started keeping things back from them. You understand? Because we started seeing the change of attitude, and they wanted me to vote out American Arawaks to be out of the West Indian Tribal Society, and I would not do it. I told them whatever issues they have with him, they need to speak to him, right? But I'm not going to do it. The man has his principles and he stands on his ground for certain things, and I don't really disagree with him. Everyone has the right to their own opinion and what it is that they see or feel fit that best suits them. Did his opinion or anything would have affected anything that the tribal society was doing? No, it would have never had any effects on it. That's just the man's personal view. Had nothing to do with the end goal at hand or the goal at hand of what we were trying to build for our people of the Americas, right? Now, because of that, and they couldn't get him to sway from his um, way of thought when it came to certain things, they wanted him out. I'm like, nah, crazy. That's not. I'm not doing that, right? So because I'm the one that had the platform at the time in these things, right? Because you got to understand when people are just using you for your strengths and your weaknesses, right? At the time, they still needed a platform to get certain information out and these things. That was, my platform. My platform is a bigger platform. My platform is a platform that has a lot of influence within our community, within this indigenous community. As small as my platform is now, it still ring bells throughout the entire to all of the community, and they know this. They very well know this, right? So they needed me to concur with it, and I would not. Okay. Now I'm just showing you this to show you how they're little snakes, and a snake will always shed its skin and show itself over and over again. A snake cannot always stay within a garden snake don't always stay within the grass of the garden. Sometimes it has to rear its ugly little head, and they started rearing their ugly little head. The closer and closer they got to Richard Curry becoming chief of a Kung Pao. Mind you, these are two illegit. Oh God damn it! They have no legitimacy in Mooretown. Okay, none. Which will break down why you see them pushing that little girl, Hope, to run for Maroon Chief. I believe she's still a teenager. If not, she probably just turned 20. Actually, no, she's still a teenager. She's probably 17, 18. Now, when they used to complain about all the issues and stuff, right? Because they made it seem like they're very popular amongst a lot of the people down there, and and it looks like they're not. I used to say to Alex, "Why don't you run for chief? Why don't you push for the election to happen to run for chief? You have all these ideas, you have all these things. Why don't you do it?" And he always had all the excuses in the world. They said that the chief down there now is a big Obeah man. He's a voodoo man, and he drinks out of a skull cap, right? He drinks from a skull and all these things, and they be in the cemeteries and throwing whatever powder to control the spirits in the cemeteries and all these things. So they didn't want to do it. So if this man is so dangerous, why are you putting this little girl on the forefront? Because this little girl is supposed to be the next blood, the akin, akin to Nanny. But there's another woman there that they claim is akin to Nanny that's very darker than this little girl, right? They're pushing also a colorist movement is what they're pushing, right? But we'll leave that woman out because they didn't put that woman in the limelight, okay? And this woman is a grown woman, an adult. You understand me? Yes, she is their puppet. So because they have no legitimacy there, they latch themselves on to one of Nanny's kin to make her their proxy so that they stay behind. She's 18 years old. She knows nothing. And I'm telling you this from firsthand. She knows nothing of this information here. Nothing about the paperwork, nothing about the documentations, nothing about dealing with a government. She wants to be a reggae artist, which American Arax was the one that was mixing down some of her songs for her. She want nothing to do with this shit. They're forcing it on her because they they need to slowly but surely take over each maroon community and put it underneath Richard Curry's rulership. So they need to get the flagship, which is Mooretown, or what they'll say Nannytown. Okay, this is where Buju now come into play. If you notice, Buju Bonton has been very outspoken on many topics, especially the homosexual topic down there and the topic of the LGBT flag being put up at the embassy, and he's just been very outspoken. But you have not seen Richard Curry be outspoken on those topics. Buju was very outspoken on the COVID topic. You have not seen Richard Curry be outspoken on those topics in the manner of how Buju was. You understand? But Buju himself is either being used and he just don't know it, or he's down with the shenanigans. You understand? Right? This is what happens when you are part of these Shriners Masonic societies. When they call your number, if either you play the game or they get rid of you. Okay? You haven't seen Richard Curry speak out on those topics like that. His mouth is shut. They like to put other people in the forefront for certain things and let other people speak out and put a target on their own backs, and they stay behind the scenes. Otherwise, if they had any say so, if they had any power in Mooretown, Alex would have been ran or pushed for election for to be chief of the Mooretown Maroons if he had such strong blood ties to Mooretown. He has not done so, had made no attempts to do so, claimed that they are fearful. You understand? So they're pushing this young girl now. They're pushing this young girl now. Yes, they are. That is true, Awar. Like the information that they have, it came from us. They were watching our platforms before we even knew who they were. Okay, and and to show you something, in a short little time where I did stop talking to them, they went to all the platforms that try to tear down my platform, that try to slander my platform, trying to go to all of them for help, and they all turned their asses down. And I warned them about those platforms. So it's to show you that they have no honor, no morality, no morals about themselves. They went to all those platforms that wasn't talking nothing about West Indian communities and these things that was making their curry goat, ram goat, jokes and stuff, pot shot jokes, and their thing like how you know how Caucasians will have their little slick way of saying nigga. Their little slick way of saying of a discriminatory term was always bringing up Marcus Garvey. I've never heard those platforms talk so much about Garvey until I started coming out and started taking hits on the Moors. And that's where all those fools started showing themselves that they were Moors. You understand? And these are facts, okay? Started pointing out how a lot of these platforms are scamming people, and only for people to come and find out that these people were scamming them, right? Going back from Kalinago to Thing Calloway to all of them, okay? And then now when they saw Copper Hot Step and Lacona them started the ICCC, they try to latch on to them because they were trying to get the Caribbean influence. Cause they started realizing because remember they were separatists. Oh, they're not us. They're not us. But when they started digging into the history, I just sat back and laughed to see them contradict themselves. When they started digging into the history, they realized that the people who they're saying ain't from us originally came from South America and created waves of bloodlines going back down into the Caribbean or what they call the West Indies, so that them and us share the same blood. We are one people. And watch them have to swallow and choke on their words. Understand? But anyway, so yes, so they started bringing other topics to my attention. The 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 polluting of a ravine by a tractor that was leaking oil in the quarry, and it's been there for years. So I said to Alex, brother, why don't you take some people since it's an abandoned piece of machinery and it's polluting your water? Why don't you take some people and stop it from leaking? Fix the leak. Fix the leak. No one wanted to touch it. Right? This is what I was being told. Fix the leak. If you know for a fact firsthand that the elder Maroon chiefs of the Maroon tribes around the island, that a lot of them are corrupt, yeah, and you're saying that the one in Europe in Mooretown that he's corrupt, why don't you, Alex, run for chief? Do something. Didn't want to do it. I said, then why don't you get uh they call him Major Charles Aaron. Why don't you get brother Charles Aaron then to run? He's elder now, and his mind is not what it used to be. This is how they got him. I believe this is how they got him to stamp that paperwork to give him his legitimacy, than him being illegitimized. You understand? Because the way how he talked to that man when I used to be on the phone with him, brethren, what you want? What you want, brethren? Brethren, what you need? What you want? And I'm like, who are you talking to like that? Who is that? And he's like, oh, that's just the elder, you know. Sometimes his mind is not there, but you're talking to him in such aggressive manner. You know, someone else was able to talk to my grandmother and my grandfather like that, a gunshot for them immediately, like that. This is how he talked to this man, right? And I believe he's with in relations to Annette Arendt. Either that's his daughter or that's his wife. She's some relation to him. Okay. Now, when we now find out that Richard Curry's chief was became chief of a Kung Pong, and I believe he was doing a restoration, a water restoration project. I was like, okay, since he's doing that and they're doing a GoFundMe for it, let's run the GoFundMe also on my platform. But I learned from my past. I said, but I'm not running it unless he comes on the platform and he speaks on the platform. And they started saying that he's so busy. I said, well, I'm not running no GoFundMe until when he comes on the platform and can do this interview also. And the energy was being given off like we don't really want him to have any connections with the likes of you. But he's busy. We'll have to see so on and so. So one day, American Arawaks heard an interview between Richard Curry and Muta Baruka, and Muta teared them apart. Mind you, I'm not a big fan of Muta Baruka neither, because Muta know what time it is, and Muta still chooses to play the games of fool with the people. Muta know that we are not Africans. Muta know that we are the original Indians of the Americas. Muta know that we are the Indians of this Western Hemisphere. Muta know that us, the people that they call black, colored, Negro, Afro Caribbean, West Indian, are the Indians of this part of the world. Muta knows this, but he still pushes the African agenda, right? But anyway, one thing Muta got him on. When they speak, when Richard Curry speaks, because he's not the one that writes his speeches, it's either Alex or Malkia that write his stuff. That they can write a speech within 5 to 10 minutes, boy. And it sounds like it took them 2, 3 months to write that shit. Excellent. Because they went to school for this stuff. Political science, media. They went to school for all of this. Psychology. They went to school for all of this. When he went on Muta show and he started speaking as if we are Moors, started speaking as if not we. He started separating the people who they call Maroons in the mountains from the rest of the people from the island. And Musa did not like that. Called him out on it that he's speaking a separatist talk. And they have the brother that they call Big Storm. I can't remember his real name, but I think he did surgery the other day. I don't know if his surgery went well or not, but I think it was Bonton that gave him the money for his surgery. But they call him Big Storm, right? And he also has a platform, a big platform down there as well. And he called out Curry on the same thing, on the same separatist talk. And if you go on Curry's Instagram, they probably took down some of the stuff now because some of the stuff I was looking for is no longer up there anymore, right? Especially the video when him talking about the Tainos and Mama G and how they're working together. Then after the last video I did, 2 videos I did back, they put up a picture stating that like they have no dealings with Mama G. Okay, so I know they're watching this. I know you're watching this. I want you to listen good because I'm gonna dig my into you. Yeah, I don't like a snake, and I don't like backstabbing people. I don't like users. You understand? Especially when you've done nothing but good to these people. So yes, so if you go on Richard Curry's Instagram, let's listen to the pattern of how he talks. When he's saying our people and these things, he'll also go along down into that speech and give himself away. That he's only talking about the maroon people. They ain't talk about the rest of the island. Securing resources and these things. Now, understand, for years, for years, when the mining and these things was going on the island, not a lot of people was coming out and speaking up, and the ones that were speaking up, their voices was being silenced. Okay, these ones now are now speaking up about the mining because it came too close to their backyard. So if it never came too close to their backyard, they wouldn't give a shit. And because they're not profiting also from it, so they started realizing about surety bonds, indemnity bonds, security bonds. They started realizing that what you're calling Jamaica is literally King's House, and it's a corporation, it's a business that's owned by the Queen of England. That she has no hold on the entirety of the archipelago of what Jamaica really is, which is 28 islands on a whole. Well, 28 is the number that they gave you, but it's actually more than that. But that's something else for another time. Okay? They came into this knowledge because of us. When we showed them the listings on the Security Exchange Commission website, the government of Jamaica and the Jamaica government is listed as a corporation, a business. It is a subsidiary of the United States Federal Corporation, all of which goes back to the Queen of England. It's a business. They have no jurisdiction over the Indians, but they have jurisdiction over Jamaicans because you no longer identify as Indians. And they learned this. This is why they start calling themselves Arawaks in their documentations, but they also call themselves Moors. So every time they call themselves a Moor, it negates the fact of them being an Arawak because the Moors was the first invaders of our people, our Arawakan people, of the American hemisphere. The Moors were the very first invaders. The dark-skinned Negro Moors were the very first invaders. So how are you identifying as the very same people that invaded us? Because when Richard Curry came to the mainland, he became a Moor. He joined the Moor Science Temple. You understand? When Alex Amalki was here in the mainland, they became actually they was indoctrinated from down there because he was a Jesuit from he was in Jamaica, what they call Jamaican corporate paper, Alex. And then he became a Muslim. You understand? And that's why you hear Richard Curry will say the Muslim sayings in some of his speeches and greetings, right? Because he's a Moor. Moors are Muslims. They'll say, no, we're Muslims. There's no difference. They're Muslims. Or all fall under Islam. You understand? And the Indians, the original people, indigenous people of the Americas, are not Muslims. Do not go by the order of Islam. So what you have is an infiltration of the indigenous communities by the very same colonial forces that broke up our homes, our ancestral homes, history, ties to our lands in the first place. The same puppets that was used by the very same British English crown and Moroccan crown to invade, and Spanish crown to invade over here, enslave our people. This is going to go now into why, yes, the Templar Church, yes, you're right, the Templar Church and the Order of the Black Friars. The Order of the Black Friars is what they used to take over the portions of what they call Haiti and turn it into the Dominican Republic. It's the Dominican Order of the Black Friars. That is what they're called. They're from Europe. And this is how the Dominican Republic became the Dominican Republic. And this is why there's a love-hate relationship between them and the Haitians, even though they now share a lot of blood ties with the Haitians, because damn sure they raped off a lot of them enough to give birth to them. You understand? And this is why to this very day they're still hanging Haitians in the part of the island called the Dominican Republic. They're hanging them from trees still. And here's this man identifying as the very same colonizing people and trying to act like no. This is why on his Instagram page You see the big Moor and that red and green flag that they have. Those are Moorish colors. Okay, those are Moorish colors. Mama G is the same thing because there's pictures. I still have those pictures with Mama G and a man standing behind her with a white fez. So they have the white fez, they have the black fez, and they have the red fez with the tassels around them. So these people have been sent to take over our resources, take over our indigenous identity. These people are also people that look that are also called themselves Tainos, right? Because people know Moors of being dark skinned folks, but the Moors of today are more than just dark skinned folks. You have pale skinned Moors, you have brown skinned Moors, you have yellow skinned Moors, the Asians, Chinese. You understand? And this is why you see them push that whole one blood thing, right? Because going back in Alex's thing, Alex, I think great grandmother was Caucasian. Okay, so this is where now it's going to come down to, they say the less evil is evil to me, but some people say the greater or the lesser evil. If that little girl becomes chieftainess of Mooretown, it's going to be worse than the chief that you have now. You're not going to see it, but on the international stage, it's going to be worse because you're going to give power, authority to Alex and Malkia and Richard Curry. That little girl is not going to have no power because she does any and everything that those two tell her to do. They practically almost raised her. They latched onto her. Anything that she needs, if her mother don't get it for them, they try to they go and get it for her. And that's why they stuck close to her more than anybody else in Mooretown because they already had plans for her. This is what the societies do. This is their thing. So when you see Annette Aarons come and say, well, yes, Buju was being barred from and Curry was being barred from the Mooretown elections, and the little girl is backed by Richard Curry because she's Annette's daughter. That's Annette's daughter. You understand? Richard Curry should not have no influence on another tribe's election. That is not his tribe. Why are you putting your nose in their business? Buju is from Mooretown, so why did they bar Buju? Was he active or inactive for years? Did people take these things into consideration? Huh? And mind you, I told y'all before in the beginning, this little girl wants to be a musician. She wants to be a reggae artist. American Arawaks was the one that started mixing down some of her songs for her and started putting it out there on YouTube and a couple other music platforms. Okay? So she wants nothing to do with being a chieftainess. Her passion is with the music. Can't be a reggae star, a dancehall star, and be a chief of an entire nation at the same time. It don't work like that. So that means all the decision making is going to be left in those two hands that don't never. They very rarely put themselves in front of the camera. They are smart. They are opportunists, and all of this is for power, resource. They talk a lot of trash about, like, especially you see me, I am from Kingston. They talk shit about the people I'm from Kingston. They talk shit about the people that left the island to come to the mainland for a better life. But when Richard Curry was doing his water restoration project and his looking for his relief fund for packages and stuff to be sent for aid for the people at up in Mooretown at that time, it was the very same people that they cursed out and said that they should never come back. And if this happened to them, they deserve it. And all sorts of stuff that they were saying. It was those same people that sent the packages, the gift packages, the relief fund packages. It was those same people, some of whom are Maroons themselves, that sent those packages. You understand? So they don't have the best interests of the island or the people of the Americas. They only care about their own small maroon communities. Okay, that's it. They didn't give the entire island maroon IDs when they created their maroon ID. They didn't do that. So I want people to pay attention, man. This is nothing but a bunch of Moorish folks who were treated with the United States through the Moroccan Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and the same Moors who are treated with the 1739, 1738, 1739 Maroon Treaty of Akungpung with the Crown. These are the same people that were capturing the runaway Indians and enslaving them back or taking them in as slaves in their own um, communities and sending them back to the slave masters for 30 pieces of silver. Read the treaty. Read that 1739 treaty, Maroon Kung Fung Treaty. Read it. It tells you in the treaty. And in that treaty, it doesn't even mark them as maroons. It put maroon in a box. When you see that box, it means that the word maroon does not exist. That's not that what they were calling them back then. A maroon is a creation by the crown, the British crown. So they are the military, the militia, the militia for the British crown. For if you, the real Indian communities that was abolished and torn apart, going up into Portmore, going back down into Marvally, going back down into Della Creek Park, 2 miles, these places, Wateroo, Spanish Town. You understand? Certain parts of Spanish Town. You understand? These places that they call schemes and garrisons. And there's a reason why these places are kept down in the gutter and not uplifted, and why the government portrays the false flag. So Jamaica has a false flag um, program that they have with their U.S. military, where they stage killings and attacks, and they do it in a way to make rival gangs keep going at war with each other. And this is why these communities are always have massive amounts of murders and deaths, because it's orchestrated by the very same corporation. Because you are the real rebellious communities. You're the ones, the Indians, that they actually tore apart from your full identity and culture. You understand? So the 1739 treaty was for them to, if you were coming up to rebel back against the corporation, the Maroons' job was to stop the rebellion, to inform the government, hey, them water on the shall say, yo, them tired of the abuse and the mistreatment, and they're gonna come chop off your head. And the government will be like, well, if that's the case and they're tired of the abuse and the mistreatment and they're trying to come at us, then here's the 30 pieces of silver, here's 100 pieces of silver, here's a treaty, sign this treaty, go stop them. And that was their job, to inform on you and to stop your rebellion before it even happens by acting as if they're friends and they mean the best for you. It's reverse psychology. And if you were to run away and go up into the mountains, this is why they're stationed in the mountains. Had nothing to do with the British is coming in the mountains and they're coming for us. They were stationed in the mountains so that when you ran up in the mountains, they grab your ass and they bring you back down to the lowlands. Read that 1739 treaty. Read that shit. So they can never be a sovereign state of a Kong Kong. And they never will be, because they still go by that treaty. So what they will always be is quasi-sovereign. That means they're contracted with the corporation of Jamaica. They're not free. They're slaves to the corporation, and they are ruled under the British crown to this very day. Even in that treaty, it tells you, if they didn't rewrite it, right? In the version I used to read to you guys, it tells you in the version I used to read to you guys that the chief of a kampong was supposed to wait on the king of the king to return. So he was a waiting boy. Chiefs don't wait. This is why Curry went down to King's house to sign in on that sign-in sheet. What do you? My mother used to be heavy in politics. When my mother saw that, my mother said, "What is he doing down there? Why is he sitting across from Tom Tavares Princeton, the man that could have been gotten Vibes Cartel out of prison and chose not to? Hmm? Vibes Cartel, who's also supposedly, allegedly, a maroon. Huh? Vibes Cartel, who is a Palmer. Understand? When she saw that, she said, "Wow." She said, "Wow. He's not supposed to be in their house. They're supposed to go to him, but he went to them because he's an honorary magistrate also in King's house, meaning light issues, little light issues and stuff, he has magisterial powers over. He's a member of the crown. They do not have the best interest at heart for the people of the island. These are people that is just trying to make money, right, by convincing the maroon communities that they have the best for them, but they're really going to sell you out later on down the road to the very same mining companies and these things. They're going to, but it's not going to come into the form of mining. It's going to come into the form of your agricultural resource. It's going to come into the form of having you set up shop or start having the the pale face people and the Asian people coming more into your communities and intermixing within your communities to breed you out and to build up houses and these things and learn more of your ways. Watch and see. It's going to happen. This is why the Tainos then was introduced the youth named Kalan. Kalan was the guy. As much as you heard them talk, the Alex and Malkia talk about Kalan and Kalan this and he's corrupt. He was the one that married them, common law marriage. He did their marriage ceremony. Kalan did that. The Taino guy. So they are a part of the Taino organization. They go with any organization where they feel like they could get something out of them, or when they feel like they can't get nothing no more out of you, or they don't want you to know any more of the business at hand that they're doing, they drop ties with you. That's what they did to Arawak and I. When they learned, when they Curry's a banker, so when they got the idea of how to draft up bonds and these things, because Arawak know how to do these things. Arawak's now to draft up these bonds. He now to draft up these certificates. He know how to use these bonds and these he know how to use these bonds and stuff to close out mortgages and these type of things. He's done it. Man has had his house for 8 years, and at least 5 out of the 8 years has not been hit with no mortgage. None. His home is solar powered, so he's not paying no electric bill through the city and none of these things. You understand? He knows these things. So when they got a draft, they didn't get the real deal. They just got a draft, and they started talking a whole bunch of shit. Well, we know that they gave that draft to Richard Curry, right? And how to get the silver and gold appraised for the stock market value and these things. So when they thought they learned this stuff, they wanted to get rid of him because it's like we got your information. It's like what they did with Owen when they took his paperwork to go try to put it through on the newspapers, right? And wanted to cut ties. So be careful of the people that you're looking to go put, because you're not voting in hope. You're voting in Alex and Malkia, and they're going to push over everything onto Richard Curry, and Richard Curry's going to stay from a Kung Pong and delegate the authority of Mooretown. You understand? And they're using the popularity of Buju. And the fact that that little girl is into music, I guarantee they probably pitched the whole music into Buju about her already because now if she's chieftainess of the Maroons and she wants to do music, she's Buju's chief. He ain't gonna tell her no. He's gonna back her music career. They're very smart. They're very smart. But the thing is, they have strong oppositions in Mooretown because they're illegitimate. There you go. See, illegitimate. No legitimacy. Okay. Now let's address a little of this Taino community thing. So the Taino community, yeah, I do not have hatred towards or you guys, the folks that founded your community under a false narrative, and for over 20 something years they've been using Soros's money to go into the archival records of the cyberspace and into these colleges to rewrite the narrative to add in the word Taino. Okay, they are government agents that was sent to usurp the history and rewrite the history to always mark the darker you people. I'm not the darkest of our people. You know what I mean? I'm like a Hershey chocolate type of complexion. You understand? But I stand up for the ones who are also darker than I. Because my grandmother is darker than I. My dad is darker than I. My grandfather is darker than I. I have members of my family, the elders in my family, they're darker than I. Okay? So the Tainos, the people that founded Taino organization, they used that Soros money and created thousands of subsidiary companies, even companies coming out of apartments in Bronx, in Queens, in Atlanta, and they started a whole bunch of subsidiaries, shell companies in the South Americas and in the Caribbean. Okay, this is what they're doing. And with that money, they're using that money to put towards like Etim Online and like Encyclopedia Britannica and the Yale and the Harvard sites and the UCLA sites to start rewriting the narrative. Because when you go into the original books from the 13, 14, 15, 1600s, 1700s, there is no mention of Taínos. There's only mentions of Arawak, Anahuacan, Ahuac, Ahuacan, Locono. You understand? Arawak. There's no mention of Taino. They paid to rewrite the entire history for years behind the scenes because none of us was paying attention to this. And this is why every time you type in Arawak, you see the word Taino. They paid Google, these search engines, they paid them with Soros's money and George Soros's influence. And the reason why you don't hear Curry and them saying anything about the LGBT flag or the LGBT community is because the Soros grant from his charitable funds that he put into the Caribbean islands and the University of the West Indies says that they cannot discriminate against the homosexual community or speak on them. Okay? This is why. And that's why they had Buju go out there and do all the ranting and made stuff hot for himself. Because they were trying to use the popularity, the celebrity status of Buju. Even the what was it? Was it what's the name of that show that came down and interviewed Curry? Uh God damn it. That interview that he did on that it's not Ice. It's not I can't remember the name. But he did a interview for a big platform. That was because of the Soros influence, right? And the connections. They had a link, a connection with one of the members of that platform also as well. It wasn't that that platform saw that he became chief, and they said, "Oh, we got to come interview him." The whole shit was staged. Vice, yes, Vice. The whole thing was staged. You understand? Staged. So pay attention to what's going on. You see that little Arab dude that's on Curry's Instagram also talking. That's the dude that they got the $50 million gemstone from. Okay, through a lawsuit that he won where he's saying that his ancestors owned some type of land here on the mainland, and there's a company that was mining the land for gemstones and mineral rights and these things, and he won part of his lawsuit. He didn't won the whole thing. He won a part of it. That Arab looking dude, Syrian looking dude, and that's what they're using to bring forth a cryptocurrency. That Moor, he's a Moor. Okay, so people, be careful of the be careful of which devil you let in your house, because the one that has the popularity and the glit and the glamour. And let me say this too for the old chiefs of the Maroon community. What I'm also learning, they did not have this knowledge that we have today. They did not have this knowledge of the Jamaica being a corporation. They did not have this knowledge. So some of these men didn't know this information and did not know how to get their people up out of bondage. You understand? They were taught that they had to submit to the corporation, and which is what they did. And then you have some that was just straight blatantly just stealing the money. So you can look at it from all angles, from all sides. But I'm telling you, you have to play the long game. Don't look at the short game and be like, oh, but look what the community going through, and Curry's trying to build a community. Yes, even the devil does good sometimes. The devil will come and build a whole. All right, look here in the mainland, yeah, they'll come. You have 1,000 abandoned houses. They'll come and they fix all those 1,000 abandoned houses. You have potholes in the road. The roads are broken up. They'll fix all the roads, and you'll start enjoying it. Yes, the community is back, and then you start seeing a little change here, a little change there. Then you start seeing an outside face here, an outside face there. You start seeing long straight hair people coming in the community, one there, one here, and within 10 years time, you do not recognize the community that you live in, and next minute you know, if you weren't paying taxes, you're going to start paying taxes. You understand? So there's certain things that's going to be laid down onto you that you are not used to. Okay? The Jamaica Corporation know that they are supposed to, without a shadow of a doubt, fix up any indigenous community, period, because that is a part of the dealings of why they created the Jamaica Corporation. They are supposed to do that. But the people don't know how to press them on that. The people don't know how to do the paperwork on that. The people don't know how to bring the stuff up in front of even the international stage. They don't know because they're not educated. And the ones who are educated are coming to take very much so advantage of you. Okay? Let's be careful. These people don't play the short game. They play the long game. It's all about the long game. Put you in a state of comfort and then pull the rug from underneath you before you even know it. By the time you figure out what happened, it's too late. You understand? If it was up to me, every Chinese that's up in the mountains would have to leave those mountains. All those Chinese that went up into the mountains and opened up businesses and put my next door neighbor out of business that had their little shop, right? because they know that the Chinese know that every item that comes in on into Jamaica, they pay penny on the dollar for, while you who are on the island are being charged way above the currency rate. So your business, you have no choice but to raise. You have no choice but to raise the price of your merchandise, while they don't have to raise the price. They could drop their prices. So now if you're used to pulling in this amount of customer base, you're no longer doing it because they're stealing your customers. You understand? And the products that they're selling your customers aren't even organic. And the government knows this. Yeah. If it was up to me, I would stop them completely from bringing in any merchandise through any Chinese or Asian hands or any foreign hands on the island. Why can't you have your own ships? The government is supposed to provide these things for you, your ships, so that you can maneuver through your waters. You understand? But they're giving all the resources to the foreigners. You have the power to stop that by identifying back underneath your original indigenous identity. You are West Indians. You are Indians. You are not Africans. They didn't call you West Africans in the West Indies. You are West Indians. That means you are American Indians. That is very powerful. Understand this. You're hurting yourself. That's why I said I'm not a straight up fan of Muta, because Muta know this information. But he chooses to still push the whole Kemetic shit and the whole African this and that. But he knows Kamuta itself is a Maroon, and Maroons know that they are just like everybody else on the island, Indians, American Indians of the American hemisphere. The job of the corporation is to delegate anything that you want. Their job is not to outsource your resources to foreigners to push you out and give the foreigners more power on your own homeland. You understand? But you must first understand who you are. I remember when Alex and Malkia went to go speak at UWI, right? You remember that Arawak when they went to go speak at UWI? They were telling us that they were going to go do the talk at UWI, and till this very day, we're like, "What happened?" They said, "Oh, it went well," but what happened? What did you guys say? Where's the video footage of you guys speaking at UWI so we can see for ourselves what words and terminologies did you use? Because you said that their minds was blown of the world of knowledge and information, but at this time we was kind of suspecting that they were trying to push also the Moorish ideology as well. So we wanted to hear for ourselves what was said, and they would not give us the link to go back to listen to what was said. You understand? Because what we spoke about behind the scenes is different from what they went in front of Yui and spoke about. They changed up some of what was to be said, the truth on the history, to push the Moorish agenda. And once you have the minds of Yui, the University of West Indies is one of the top schools in all of the Americas. It used to be, I believe, top five, and still is up there, probably now in the top 10. People leave from the mainland, people leave from all over the world to go to that school, that college. Martin Luther King used to visit the island damn near frequently and spoke a few times at UWI to show you the history that it has. It has a reputation, and the students that go there are people who, when they leave there, are put in positions of power all over the world. So if you are going and you're spitting a half truth, half false narrative to these people, you're setting up the downfall of our people even more. So when we start asking now, okay, you said this is what you said, so let us see. We want to see it. We want to hear it for ourselves because now they started moving in a distrustful way. So now we started questioning things, and they did not let us hear what was said at Ewing. They did not. So all I can say, people, wake up. Okay, wake up. Don't be the king on the chessboard, because even the king on the chessboard is a pawn. You know why the king on the chessboard is a pawn? Because the player that's moving the pieces is the actual ruler. You understand? I'm on one side, they're on one side. They move their king, they move their pawns, their rooks, their knights, their bishops, their queens, and so on and so. So there's a hand behind every king. That's why they say there's a kingmaker. And they're the hand behind getting this girl to be a chieftainess because a king is a unisexual word. So they're trying to make her a kingmaker, but she's also going to be a puppet on the Curry, which they're also the hands behind Curry. Because Curry didn't know this information neither. They started getting the information from us, from Aua, Arawak, me. You understand? Lokono, Kapahatsta. You understand? This is where they started getting the information from. Because a lot of this information they did not know. When it came down to the original maps showing the original territories of the Americas, right? The maps that we used to show that the Moors was full of shit. They did not know. They didn't know none of this stuff. But because they're very smart people, they catch on real quick. And because they're very deceptive, they try to manipulate the information to fit their narrative. I'm telling you, in the long game, it's going to jam you up. My job, I'm not here to start no revolution or anything like that. I am here to plant the knowledge in the minds of the next generation coming so that they can be the opposition to tyranny, whether it's coming from your own or from anyone outside of you. That's it. So even if these people are successful in getting what they're looking to get, there will still be those out there that knows the information in its rightful context, and you will always have an opposition. So you ain't going to be able to sit and lay on your pillow comfortable at night. And I'm not going to allow you to sit here and try to be smudge or smudge the history of our people. You understand? I'm not going to sit here and say that some of these folks that call themselves Tainos are not mixed with our blood. I'll be a fool to say that that's not true. It is true. I'm not going to sit here and say that some of these folks, these natives on these illegitimate, some of these folks that came from illegitimate people who call themselves natives on these reservations are not now mixed with some of our blood. Yes, that is true. This is why they have claim. You understand? But their ancestors before and so on and so did not. And the reason why they are here because they ran away from their homeland and came to our homeland for refuge. And you gave them refuge and they stabbed you in the back. And they treated back with the very same people they were running away from because they were told they could get all these acres of land. And they got over 200 million acres of land and casinos. And you got nothing. You got the projects. You got police stepping on your necks every day. You got gang violence in your communities. You got a piss poor education system. You understand? You got felonies and misdemeanors. And when you came out with felonies out in the in what's supposed to be the free world, you can't get a job because the ones who control the job market are the same colonizing sources that discriminates on you. It's a fact. Wake up. Wake up. If those two were not snakes, and those two didn't have a certain type of immaturity to them because they're young too. They're young people also. Damn. I can't believe I got to the age where I'm saying these young people. Oh man, I'm not even 40 yet. When I'm saying these young people. But if those two was just straight upright people, between them, Arak and I, Ahua, we could have created something great. Lakono, Kappa, sisters like Cherokee Tolu, brothers like IMQ. If Kalanago also wasn't a snake, yeah. If Dane Calloway wasn't also a scammer, we could have created something massive, a force to be reckoned with all over the world. I watch a very well-known man say that the reason why they don't. Oh, Hemok said it. The reason why, also Hemok could have created something great. I watched Hemok say that the reason why these so-called Negro leaders don't come out in one swing and say, "Oh, people who they call black people are the original Indians of the Americas," is because of the chaos it will cause. We're living in chaos now. What are you talking about? The truth shall set you free. Just tell the truth. Don't feed it to me in little microdose increments that by the time you tell me this little bit of information here they come with a massive news wave of look at it. Chris Rock got slapped and Johnny Depp was being abused by his woman and she shitted on the bed sheet. You understand? People ain't gonna remember what you said. They especially these folks of today, they're gonna be paying attention to all that mainstream media shit. Just come out and say it. Just say it. I see some of the reservation Indians now doing news conferences, and they're talking about the black Indians now, right? But they too need to just say it. Look, man, the people that Columbus came and saw here, right? They were dark skinned, brown skinned people, and we came from these people via through that our other side of ancestry raped, pillaged, plundered, and colonized these people, kicked them off their lands, took their houses, took their names, and left them in poverty, took their gold, took their silvers, and started calling their gold and silver Spanish doubloons because they needed an excuse to dive into the American waters and steal the doubloons that was on the ocean floor, talk about it belonged to Spain. Okay? Stealing your gold from underneath you. Going into Haiti because they found out that the Haitians literally have gold dust peeking through the soil that's in their very own backyard, and that the Haitians trade in gold. And this is why they put them on the, I think it's called the CBN or the CND. I'll get the name of the list. There's a list of companies, businesses, and countries that they have on a sanction list. And this is why they sanctioned the Haitians because they would not let them come and mine up their gold and stuff. But now because of the UN military and all these things, they're now mining, and the Clintons are mining gold in Haiti against the will of the Haitians. You understand? And the Haitians are they are left alone because again we cannot come together and unite because don't the Jamaica government corporate government is not going to help them because the Jamaica corporate government is a subsidiary of the United States, and the United States wants the iridium that is in Haiti, and they want the gold that is in Haiti. So Jamaica became Orion's dog. So that's what the U.S. flag represents. It represents the Orion constellation, and the other stars that is within the Orion constellation. The red, the blue, Betelgeuse, the serpent, so on and so. These colors. The white that represents Orion's dog, which is white. You understand? Which the U.S. flag means a spear in the shield. Orion is the hunter. He has a spear. He has a shield. He has a sword. He has a bow. The United States flag is the spear and shield of the British royal family of the crown. Okay, which that flag also represents what is called Old Roger, which is now called a Jolly Roger, which they used to call Old Glory. Okay, we have now become foreigners in tenements in our own backyard. So the reservation Indians, they know this. They should just come out and be truthful. That's always been my thing from day one. Just be truthful. For years, you also helped play into because you was getting this government backing of watching these people call us niggers and well, nigger goes back to Naga. And Naga means light, light bearer. That's truthfully what it means. Just like Zoe when people when they say yo I'm Zoe means life. That is what Zoe means. It means life. So they know who you are. And they switch around your great words and your great names into a derogatory meaning type of thing. Okay, and they start linking Zoe to Zoe Pound, meaning like street gangs and so on and so. This is the campaign that has been waged against you. Yeah. I definitely know what's happening now. I think everything happens for a reason. And when the time rightfully comes for everyone to come and merge together, I believe it will happen. The time will come. You understand? I just believe that right now, um, separately, what we are all doing is still for the betterment of our people, and that all that work is paying off and will pay off, right? But so people understand, man. All they have to do is just tell the truth. Look, our Asian ancestors came here. They were dark skinned folks that also came here, right? And when they came here, they saw your people here, your people here, who they now call black colored Negro and all this type of stuff. And they came and they saw you here, and you gave them refuge. And somewhere along the line, they turned on you and treated with the other colonial forces and pushed you out of your resources of your land. That's it. And we were used to capture you, right? So you see when they show these old movies when they show Indians hunting down the slaves and these things, we were used to capture you, and you at this time were our brothers, our cousins, and these things of mixed blood because we were mixed with your blood. But they used us because you taught us the land, the layout of the land, and they didn't know it. So they used us to hunt you down and recapture you back and put you back into slavery, into servitude, lock you up and stock you back on these ships that took you into parts of Africa, Liberia, Sierra Leone, that took you up into the Barbary coast and had you sold as slaves going into Africa. You wasn't taken from Africa and sold as slaves. You were taken to Africa and sold as slaves. They know this, and they will not come out in its entirety and say this. You understand? This is the truth. But it's going to take for you to do a lot of research to understand that this is the truth, to understand that there's a great opposition out there that's trying to distract you, deter you, that's trying to convince you that they have the truth and they don't. Freedom don't come overnight, and most men study for a whole lifetime and read for a whole lifetime and still have not achieved true freedom until it is time for their eyes to close permanently. And for some, that is the true freedom. You understand? All right. With that being said, that's it, y'all. You know what I mean? Uh, this week though, this week we will be going into um again in the great depths of Mark Zuckerberg, the Soros Foundation, Jennifer Doudna, and the program of what you're seeing going on television, where even in the commercials, I told you, they don't even show you being gay with you anymore, neither. They just show you being gay with other races. And all these commercials is of you and you having HIV or some form of herpes, and then they running commercials telling you to get your kids to get the HPV vaccine, the herpes virus vaccine. Your child ain't having sex. Your child is not having sexual intercourse. Your child does not have herpes. Why does your child need to get that? And we're going to show what that has to do with the Jennifer Doudna's launching of her company that she launched in, I believe, 2015. Then they hit you with the Rona in 2019, and we're gonna put all that together and show you what it has to do with everything, and what it has to do with, again, going back into the indigenous communities. Okay, what it has to do with that company wanted to buy Ancestry.com and get access to all that DNA archive data database. What it has to do with now that what it has to do with the CDC Foundation list and all the businesses and banking institutions that are on that list, and the fact that all those companies that are on that list are the companies, the stores that you walk into today now, and they have facial recognition scanners at their doorway scanning your face, which is why some places is telling you can't wear a hoodie in their establishments. You have to take your hoodie off because your face is being scanned on facial recognition programs. And why those businesses, over 500 of those businesses, is owned by the Vanguard Group. So it's going to go back and fall into the hands of literally five families that are making all these decisions and control all this stuff because they don't want to lose power. They need to know everything that you're doing. They need to know your every movement. If you put $20 in your bank account, they need to know that you put $20 in your bank account. This is why they're coming out with things like Coinbase and these things in China, digital banking. Do you understand? This is why these digital banking or these digital platforms are putting their things in their monetization system as a third party platform, which is telling you that you have to fill out tax information and these things before you can get access to your account. And they're tracking you. This is the Biden administration that put this thing into full effect. And what this has to do with going back into the whole Taino organization and the whole reservation Indian thing. All of this ties in. And I'm going to leave you with this. In the 1920s, in the 1910s and the 1920s, there were a lot of dark skinned faces in China and Japan. Why don't you see them anymore? Where are they? Where are they? That now is going to go into Jennifer Doudna's CRISPR Cas9 system that she claims that she is the innovator for now today. They've been doing this. Study the depth of the Holocaust in Germany, and you see that they are biracial people that Hitler had in those camps and Negroes. And this experimentation, this experiment, this Cas9 experiment, this gene editing experiment is what they took from Germany, and the Chinese got it and mastered it. This is why the United States and China will never be enemies. I want y'all to comprehend this. This is why the CDC through the whole gain of function research that Rand Paul was talking about. Yeah, this is why the CDC was came out now to show that they were funders of the Wuhan laboratory. Do your research. Pay attention to their commercials, their movies. They show you no more being couples together. They only show you as drug dealers, clowns, shucking and jiving Negroes, cracking jokes, laughing and dancing on stage. But they don't show you with a strong family structure anymore. The father that abandoned the family, the single mother syndrome, and here comes the white knight, the white savior, or the Asian man's Asian savior, right? This is how they're showing television now, and this is what your children are growing up and watching. So your children ain't growing up and watching them or their people that look like their mothers and fathers being together on TV anymore. You understand? That plays in the psyche of the children. That's that will bring in what is now in this generation or generations to come back with the black doll, white doll effect. Which doll would you rather play with? And majority of those Negro children pick the Caucasian doll. This is what they pushing on TV. So this is why you, the parents, have to be that role model, that great example in the household. Even if you and the mother are not together anymore, you be that perfect union when your children are around you. You understand? Because then they'll grow up and say, well, I don't know why they're showing it like that on TV because I didn't grow up in a home like that. And even if mommy and daddy wasn't together, they always got along just fine and they did everything they can for me. You know, this will break that brainwashing that they're pushing out there to you. You understand? This will break that. And this is the brainwashing that Curry and them is pushing. I don't have no issues with interracial relationships, but only when it's on a natural level. When you actually, not that you, when you actually went out there and you say, okay, damn, I blend well with this female right here, or you as a female say, okay, I blend well with this male right here. That's what you choose to do. Fine, go ahead. Will I discriminate on your child? No, I would not. Would I accept your child? Yes, I would. Would I accept your relationship? Yes, I would. But when you see it being pushed on television, television is a programming thing. Now they're interfering with a natural process and they're now programming the extinction of one race of people. They just scream Black Lives Matter all day, but television don't show Black lives or Black lives being together. This is a fact. Name me a show on Netflix and I can show you the undercurrents that you're not even together in those shows. A lot of people watch The Walking Dead. Show me the Negro couple that survived in The Walking Dead, the family. Was there ever one? And when there was one, her entire family died, and that was Michonne. Whole family died, and she became Rick's wife and brought forth his child. You understand? Check out Netflix, Hulu. Majority of the shows don't show you together. And you can't pay attention to these Negroes actors in Hollywood because they're bought and paid for. They're not going to go against the programming because that's their bread and butter. So it has to be you, the parents, you, the cousin, the brother, the sister, the uncle, the aunt, the next door neighbor to show reality. A lot of things that they show about our people on television of the single mother household. And look, man, I grew up with both parents in my house. I can't relate to a single mother or single father household. I grew up with both parents. I can relate living in a poor environment. I can relate to that, right? My father did not abandon me and my siblings. He didn't abandon my brothers and my sisters and I. He didn't do that. He didn't abandon my mother. My father worked hard. Father ran the streets for a while, but then he worked hard to provide for us up until the day he died, which was about 7 years ago. You understand? My mother was with my dad from she was 16 years old. My mother is about 56 now. Okay? My father died when he was about 59. No, no, no. He was about 50, 52. It was about 52, 52, 55. About that. But anyway, yeah, you get the picture. They were together for over 30 something years. Over 20 something years, 28 years of marriage. That's what I grew up with. So when I see certain things on TV, I'm like, that's bullshit. You understand? And for my aunts who weren't married, their husband, their baby fathers never abandoned my nephew, I said my nephew. Their baby fathers never abandoned my cousins. They did any and everything they could to take care of them. Big up Lacono, big up. To take care of them. So this abandonment of the what they call a black father in the home, to me, that's a myth. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. So yeah, fathers out there in all races that would abandon their children, just like how a mother would give birth to a child and throw the child in the dumpster or on the step of a fire station and zip off. Okay, the household I grew up in was my grandmother. You understand? Back home, and when I came here on the mainland, the way I grew up in a family environment. Anything that I did when I was out there on the streets, that wasn't because I grew up in a bad household. That's how I always tell people. I didn't grow up in a bad household. You understand? But I understood the environment that we were living in can be soft. Okay? I understand the environment that we are living in. And my mother and my father raised us to be tough, but also raised us to be there for each other, and not just for each other. They raised us to also know that not because a person is not blood, don't mean that they cannot be family. Okay? And do not do wrong to others if you don't want others to do wrong to you. But always defend yourself if wrong is being done to you. Don't back down. And be patient, because there's always a time and place. Be patient. You catch a person lacking if you're patient. Understand? This is how I was taught. This is the environment I grew up in. I can't speak for everybody else. That's why sometimes when some people talk on certain things, I can't relate with you because I did not experience that. Okay, my father wasn't a alcoholic, right? My father wasn't on drugs. My mother wasn't an alcoholic. She wasn't on drugs. From 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 the time till now, I've only known my mother to have three boyfriends in her life, and the third one she married, and that was my dad. And the other two was from her teenage years. So I've never seen my mother out there with multiple different men on the dating scene. My father has been dead almost 10 years now. My mother still has not gotten into a relationship with anyone. Let's go back to my grandmother. My grandfather died before I was born. My grandfather died in 82. Yeah. My grandmother has not been with anyone since. My grandmother's almost 90 years old now. So I can't say I grew up in this environment. I've not seen none of my aunts with multiple men. I got an aunt that's been married longer than my mother and my father was married, and she's still married to her husband to this very day. Okay? And when you marry into this family, there is no more such thing as water. You are family. And even if you divorce, the relationship is still strong. You can still come by my house. You can still have the key to my front door. You can still come in here. Because your children are my blood. This is how I grew up. But this is not what's being taught today. You got to be bad and bougie and a ratchet bitch and these things is what they're teaching. And putting Molly Percocets in female drinks. These are the things that's being taught. So I came up in an era where I saw a different way of living. And that's what's been instilled in me, my brother, my sisters, and this is what shall be passed down to our children. This is how you counter combat the programming out there. You can't go head on with the beast. You have to do it from within the home, from within the community. So when the beasts are showing their things on television, the children can say, "Oh, that's make believe." Yeah, I don't know about all that. You understand? But we there's gonna come a time where we definitely, hands down, no excuses, all gonna have to come together. We're not separate. We're one people. That's why I never pushed that separatist talk within our Aborigine community. Okay, and I don't hate or have anything against our biracial brothers and sisters. It is your elders who have contracted to keep my people, right? Let me not say my people, to keep the other side of your ancestry out of the loop and to subjugate them to a torturous environment, psychologically, physically, economically, okay, to keep them from their inheritance. Your elders have done this and knowingly done this. I'm not saying all of your elders because I know some that are strongly against this, but they are minority and they are afraid to come forward and speak because they are minority, and the majority are the ones who are ignorant in action. So I'm not going to sit here and say the people who now call themselves Taino that they don't have that some of our people are not mixed with them. I can never tell you that is not true. But if you study the history, you realize for a good portion of years, these folks have stayed segregated from us. So any mixing that has been going on, a lot of it has just now started. And any mixing that was done before came through pillaging and rape of the ancestors back in those times. All right, with that being said, y'all, I'm about to get up out of here. Um, like I said, most high willing within the week, I dropped a live about the Jennifer Doudna's business, gene editing business, and uh, the top funders of the business and what it has to do with a lot that's been going on, and a lot of the commercials that's been being run on HIV and herpes and these things right now today, right? And what it also has to do with the Gates Foundation, but Bill and Melinda Gates, okay? This is the way I live. I've been with my wife for 28 years. Oh, nice, nice. And married for 21 years. My children have never seen either of us with anyone else but each other. See, there you go. That's Brother Corey Sly. These are the examples that we set. If you're going to be out there doing your thing, your child is not supposed to be seeing these things. Especially if you have a young male child and you're a woman and he comes and he always seen a different man coming in and out of his home. That child don't like that. You know the influence it has on it. And if you're a woman and you have a female daughter, you know what that teaches her. And if you're a man and your child is around multiple different females that you're dating, you're teaching your son something unethical. Okay. And what examples are you setting for your daughter? All right, y'all. I'm out of here. I say peace, love, light to you all. Much love, much respect. Safe travels if you're on the road traveling. If you're at work, just enjoy our day, enjoy each other, and much love. And to our brothers and sisters who are in this fight, the day will come where we will have to stand by each other. There will be no excuses. That day will come, and it's coming. Peace, love, light, and even if we differ in opinion on certain things, I still respect the work that you do. Okay, those who have been in this for years, you know what I mean? Like I started doing this what in 2016. 2016. It is now 2022, right? So yeah, actually no, I started doing this 2014, and I came on YouTube in 2016. So about 10 years, about 10 years, right? So you know what I mean. Let's keep going. Let's keep going, y'all. Uh, I did create a Rumble for Shitabi Media, so we will also start doing streams on Rumble, live streams and stuff on Rumble through Shitabi Media as well, right? We'll start doing that also. I did post a upload of a video, a 5 minute video. But like I said, everything that I said that we're going to be doing is just going to take time. We have other stuff that we're working on, and then we have things that are going on that we have to situate also in our personal lives because we're still, there's things that we're still doing. So everything that I said that we're going to be doing, we're situating them. So the Rumble is up. We just have to start doing some streams off of the Rumble now. And yeah, we're going to merge the Rumble and the YouTube and everything together and do it that way. And I think we might bring back the West Indian Tribal Society website when it will be under different management in these things, right? Because I own the domain. But anyway, with that being said, peace, love, and light to you all. And I still have the archive of information to trying to find someone that could create the app so that we can upload all the information that we've gathered over the years on particular topics and put it out there so that you have a place to go to get information from. All right, maps, treaties, um, gene editing documents from the 1960s and even before that. Well, what was Darwin really doing? These type of things. Medicinal books. A lot of these books are also in different languages, so you're going to need a translator to translate. And you'd be surprised that when you start reading a lot of the books from Spain and France and Germany, the Germans in some of their work were very great in detail when it came to certain topics as well. The oldest books of the Germans, right? And then they started whitewashing it after a while. Also, you start seeing writings of Thomas Jefferson and John Adams telling you that majority of the world were dark skinned folks, right? Over 90% of the world was dark skinned folks. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this because this goes back into the CRISPR-Cas9 technology, as they call it, because it is a technology. You understand? It is a technology. It has to do with computer, microbiotics and these things. The computer age has nothing to do with natural immunity. Your immune system has nothing to do with the herbs, plants, anything that is organic. All right, this is all inorganic stuff. And why Jennifer Doudna told you on TED Talks that it can block the gene that creates the dark pigmentation within the human body. Okay, but all right, I'm definitely now out, y'all. Peace.